I'm 82 years old now, and there's something heavy I've been carrying for most of my life that I need to say out loud before I don't have the chance. Time's running out. I ain't got much left, and I've lived long enough to see the patterns, the mistakes, the things I spent too much time on, things I thought mattered, but don't. Some of it's regret, some of it's just wisdom that came too late. I'm here now, speaking my truth, so maybe it'll save someone else from making the same mistakes I made. I was born in 1941 down in Mississippi, where folks like me were expected to keep their heads down, say yes sir and no ma'am, and know our place. We didn't get the same chances as others. You learned quick that time wasn't a luxury you had. You had to fight for every damn thing. I grew up under segregation, in a world where being black meant you couldn't sit in the front of the bus, couldn't eat at certain restaurants, couldn't even use the same restrooms as white folks. We didn't have much. The government didn't care. Hell, most folks didn't care. But we survived. My mama, God rest her soul, worked harder than most folks just to keep food on the table. And my daddy, he was always working, in the fields, on the railroads, whatever he could do. But I'll tell you this, you learn early that survival ain't the same thing as living. You start sacrificing parts of yourself just to make it another day. You put your dreams aside, forget what peace feels like, and start thinking that survival is all you're ever going to get. And that, child, is the first thing I wish I'd known earlier. Stop sacrificing yourself just to survive. I remember the Great Migration like it was yesterday. Folks up and left the South, headed north, thinking there was a better life waiting for 'em. But it wasn't that simple. They said we'd be free, but freedom in the North wasn't as easy as they promised. We moved to Chicago and we thought we was going to find gold on the streets. What we found was another fight. Work was scarce, and we ended up in the same old struggle, just in a different place. And I worked, Lord knows I worked, hard, menial jobs, low wages, all the while watching my children grow up, and I didn't even have time to enjoy them. I was always busy trying to get ahead. But here's the thing, working all the time ain't gonna give you what you need. I spent so many years missing out on my own children's lives thinking I was doing it for 'em. But what I was really doing was letting the years slip through my fingers. You don't realize that at the time. You think you're doing what's right. But I ain't never been one to cry over spilled milk. I'm just here to tell you the truth, the real truth. Don't spend all your time on things that keep you away from the people who matter. I worked for years in factories and kitchens, wherever I could find a job, all the while swallowing my pride, taking what I was given. I watched men break their backs for wages that wouldn't cover the bills, and I watched women like me do the same thing. We didn't talk about it back then, but you can't keep going like that without it breaking you down. And by the time you realize that it's broke you, you've already missed your chance to fix it. That brings me to the second thing I wish I'd known. Stop putting off your own happiness. I spent so much of my life thinking that I could find happiness later, when I had the time, when I had the money, when I wasn't so tired. But you don't realize that tomorrow ain't promised, especially not for folks like us. I worked myself into the ground day in, day out, just trying to give my kids a better life, but I missed out on enjoying my own. You think you'll have time to sit on the porch and enjoy the view, but life moves fast. It takes off and leaves you standing there with a cup of cold coffee and a lot of dreams that never came true. By the time the civil rights movement started pushing for change, I was already deep in survival mode. I was doing what I had to do, not thinking too much about what could be different. But there was a turning point. I started watching the young folks stand up, demand what we couldn't. They wanted freedom. They wanted equality. But what did we get out of it? By the time the laws changed, I was too tired to enjoy the fruits of that labor. My generation fought hard, but we were too worn out by the time we got a taste of what we deserved. And here's another thing. Don't wait for the world to change before you start changing your life. If you keep waiting on the system, the government, or some miracle to happen, you'll miss out on the life you could have built for yourself. Ain't no one coming to save you. I waited too long for things to be different when I could have been changing the way I lived and the way I saw myself all along. Now, you might think I'm here to tell you about the mistakes of my past so you don't have to make them. I want you to know something, though. You're going to make mistakes. We all do. But the real mistake is not learning from them. I spent so much time hiding my pain, thinking I had to be strong all the time. I was always the one that folks leaned on, but who was there for me? Nobody. You learn that when you're older. People come and go, but what you got left is the life you made for yourself. And that's the third thing I need to tell you. Stop carrying everyone else's burdens. You can't save everyone. Not your kids, not your family, and certainly not your friends. I spent too many years doing that, and I didn't even realize I was losing myself in the process. I let my family's struggles, my community's struggles, take me so far from who I was. You think you're helping people, but in reality, you're just drowning yourself. The weight of all that time spent not taking care of myself caught up with me. Friends I once knew are long gone. Partners, too. The ones who stayed, they didn't understand. They couldn't. But that's life. And the truth is, by the time you realize you've been holding it all together for so long, the thing you've been holding, you forget who you are. By the time I got to my 70s, I'd seen it all. I buried people I never thought I'd have to. The love of my life, my mama, my daddy, friends. Now I'm here, alone mostly. My kids visit, but they got their own lives. You realize when you're old that you've outlived so much. You realize how little time you really have left. And you see the next generation coming up free in ways we never could be. They got freedoms we never had. They don't even know how lucky they are. And that's where the regret hits the hardest. I can't get back the time I lost. Can't fix the relationships that fell apart. Can't undo the things I did for survival. But I can tell you this, don't waste time. Don't waste your time on the things that won't matter when you're looking back. Family, love, peace, joy, those things matter. Everything else is just noise. I didn't know that then, but I know it now. So, if you hear this, take it to heart. Don't wait until you're old like me to figure it out. Time don't wait for nobody. Not for you, not for me. It keeps moving forward. It don't care if you're ready or not. And when it's gone forever. So live it right. Live it for yourself. And if you're carrying something heavy, maybe it's time to let it go.